The Bleacher Report app is your destination for sports. Right now, the NBA's heating up, March Madness is here, and MLB is almost back. Every day there's a new headline, a new highlight, a new moment you've got to see for yourself. That's why I stay locked in with the Bleacher Report app. For me, it's about staying connected to my sports. I can follow the teams I care about, get real-time scores, breaking news, and highlights all in one place. Download the Bleacher Report app today so you never miss a moment.
Hello and welcome back to the Psych Legal Pop Podcast. This is a podcast where we talk about popular culture through the lens of an attorney and a therapist. I'm the therapist, Tess Brigham.
And I'm Brooke Brigham, and I'm the attorney.
Today we are continuing our coverage of Sister Wives, our Sister Wives Rewind. So we were on season 2 episodes. We're going to cover today episodes 5 and 6.
No, I think it's 4 and 5.
Oh, it is? Oh, God, hopefully I watched the same shows.
Did you watch the Halloween?
Yes.
Okay.
Carving into polygamy, and the third housewife goes to, wife goes to Vegas.
Yeah. That's what I watched, but I thought it was 4 and 5.
Oh, okay. So it probably is. Sorry. 4 and 5.
Okay.
Hopefully we watched
the same thing.
Get it right. Yeah, we watched the same thing, and hopefully on the
description
I'll be right. So, and this, I will say what was interesting about this episode is, for the first time, and I'm trying to think back to some of the earlier episodes of this season. This is the first time we've gotten a lot of kids interviewed. Mm-hmm. We really
even the little kids.
Yeah, we've got the teenagers, we've got the middle-aged kids, and then the little kids like Savannah and all of that, which is no Truly yet. But
Truly was there.
But Truly, of course, was there, but she wasn't on the couch
yet. Yeah,
she wasn't on the couch yet. But that was very interesting, new and different.
Yes.
So let's get started. So it's the day before Halloween, and they're trying to organize to get everyone in the car because they're going to have pizza at the park and then go to a pumpkin patch. And then Leon's like leaving, and Cody's like, "Where are you going?" He's like, "I have to get something." And I'm like, "Oh, those teenage years." Because I have a teenager at home, so I'm always like, "Oh yeah, such good times."
Yeah,
where they just talk to you like you're a raging idiot half the time.
Well, yeah, and this, of course, the chaos of leaving for the pumpkin patch.
God, these people.
How many cars are we going to take? Who's going to be in what car? All that stresses me out every time.
Oh, yeah. Well, and they stop and talk about it a little bit. Like, Janelle's just watching the whole thing go down like, oh, God, every time with this.
She's even talking about how long it takes them just to get from the house to the cars. Then they get to the cars, and then they have to figure out who's getting in what car.
Yeah. And I guess because everyone wants to take their own car, which I think is weird because personally, if I was one of those wives, I'd be like, God, I want to be a passenger and just sit somewhere. I wouldn't want to drive and be responsible for anything.
And then they say it depends on who's fighing with who or who's getting along with who.
Yeah. And that's we haven't met them yet, the Doggers, but
the Dargers.
What is it?
Darger?
Is it Dogger?
Darger, D-A-R-G.
Darger. I always think
G-E-R.
It's not Duggar, but it's
Darger.
So we meet another polygamous family later on in this series, but that family is run by a tyrant, but God knows these people, they get places quickly.
Oh, yeah. There's military precision.
Yes, because everyone sits in their assigned seats. So, but because Kody, things are a lot mellower. But this is also the other thing of it is everything's decided by committee. And this is a little bit of why I'm a Democrat, but this is why democracy sometimes is rough.
Yeah, it's hard to get things done.
It's hard to get stuff done when everyone has an opinion.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So, and Leon is driving the Lexus.
Ooh, yes, I guess they're driving now.
They just got their license, and so that was exciting. Yeah, so they're going first to this pizza picnic. And it was so cute. Truly, she's like 5 or 6 months old, and she's chomping on a slice of pizza. She's already eating solids. She's moving right along.
Yes. And I can imagine they don't get pizza much because pizza is expensive.
Yeah.
I wonder how many pizzas. So how many pizzas do you think they had there?
Oh my gosh. Well, there's like, what, 24 of them or something?
No, there's 21.
Oh. Well, if everyone has 2 slices at least, so they're going to have more. Let's say everyone has like 3 slices. That's 60 pieces of pizza. And there's like 12 in a... I mean, it's somewhere between 6 and 10 pizzas.
Yeah, they had more than that, though.
Yeah. Because they have all those teenage boys and stuff.
They had at least... I feel like they had at least 12 to... I feel like they had at least 12 to 14 pizzas out there. So, yeah, that is a lot. It is. That's a lot of money.
Yeah. So then I think this is when they start interviewing the little kids.
Yeah, because it's been 5 months since the wedding. Mm-hmm. Yes.
So the little kids, it's like Gwen, Brianna, Savannah... And maybe
Aurora.
Gabe, Aurora.
Well, there was Gwen, Savannah, Brianna, and Aurora in one thing, one little thing. And then the other one was Gabe, Garrison, Dayton, and Peyton.
Oh,
and
so
then they
like
had the teens,
okay.
Logan, Maddie, Hunter, Leon, Aspen. I actually sat down and wrote it down.
Yeah.
And then I was like, where's Isabel? No Isabel.
Oh,
so Isabel should be with Brianna and Aurora, those girls.
Maybe she was sick or something,
or maybe she was like, "Oh, forget this, I'm not doing this."
But Gwen, pulls Brianna's hair.
Well,
doesn't she?
I actually went back and looked at this because I wanted to investigate this because first it was Aurora totally repeating something Robin told her. Mm-hmm. She's like, we're a tree and there are 4 branches of the tree and each branch is blah, blah,
is the mom. And then Kody goes from branch to branch.
Yeah. And so she's repeating this and you see that Brianna like leans down as if she's like looking at something. And then I noticed the camera you can't see what happens, but the camera, I think that Gwen, this is my theory. I think that Gwen kicked Brianna's hair accidentally. I think Brianna leaned down. Gwen kicks up her leg, kicks her hair. I think the hair kind of flicked in her face. And I think she thinks that it was pulled. And then Gwen said to her very kindly, "Oh, I'm so sorry." I mean, I think Gwen could have been like, "Oh, don't touch you, lady. Way over." I'm like, Savannah's in the middle. I'm like, I'm not even near you. Like, my hands are nowhere near you.
Yeah.
Like,
how could she have reached over and done that?
And then we get into, then we hear a little bit about Brianna and her whole situation.
The boys, like Gabe and Garrison, they say that they say they like the new kids, but Brianna cries for no reason.
So they like everybody but Brianna.
And then the teens say that all of Robin's kids cry for no reason.
Yes.
And, they're kind of shit-talking them. And then Logan, of course, in his infinite wisdom, comes in and says, but it's teaching us patience.
Yes. Daddy Logan is there to tell us exactly... Yes, well, but you know what? Even Robin says that Brianna is very thin-skinned and tends to be... She gets her feelings hurt a lot.
Yeah, the teens all say, well, we were raised different. We were raised to be tough. And it's like, okay, lay off on this, 6-year-old girl, Give her a break.
I mean, listen, it has been a lot for these kids. And every kid is different. And, they're one of 3. It's being in a home of one of 3 is very different than being in a home of 1 in 13.
Yeah, although they still live in a home with just the 3 of them because they don't live in the big house. So I don't know how often how often do you think they're really all together?
That's true, and I guess even then they never did. Actually, you're right. Those 3 never did live in the shared house.
And I highly doubt that unless they're filming or if it's a birthday or a holiday, I highly doubt they all get together.
You think?
Yeah. I mean, their schedules are just too much. You know what I mean? I mean, maybe they might have one night a week where they have a family dinner or something, but even just getting everybody in one space, you notice all these early episodes, before they moved into these houses that had big living rooms and stuff, they're doing a lot of stuff outside. They can't fit everybody into Janelle's apartment because they're not a full house.
Yeah.
They're like 3 kind of apartment sized houses or whatever you want to call them. There's not room to put everybody in any of those. I mean, especially not Christine's little basement, apartment.
Yeah, maybe so.
So anyway, they get to the pumpkin patch.
Yes.
And they sort of act like they've never been to a pumpkin patch. And they say that some of the younger kids have never carved a pumpkin. And I wonder if this has to do with Kody's attitude towards holidays. Because I remember several times Robin mentioned that, when she came into the family, Kody and the other wives confirmed this. Like Kody, I think for years had been trying to get them to stop celebrating Christmas.
Oh, God.
I think because of the money. He just didn't want to spend the money on it. And then Robin was just like, no, like, that's not okay with me. We're celebrating Christmas. And I bet he had the same kind of attitude towards Halloween. And I wonder if there was any sort of a lot of religions don't like Halloween. They think it's something dark. And
yeah, well, the idea of going to someone's home, I remember going on a date with someone whose family was some sort of Christian something.
Yeah.
And he couldn't like go trick-or-treating because you like knocking on someone's door and like asking for candy is something. Well, yeah, I wonder, I mean, I think a lot of this stuff did have to do with money. I think that what it costs to pay for all those pumpkins.
yeah, it was 25 pumpkins.
Yeah, I mean, I think that probably they didn't do a lot of this stuff because there was no way to make it equitable for all of them. So it was like nobody did it.
Right.
I think they probably trick-or-treated because that didn't cost them any money. But I bet you they've never paid for a costume.
No, it was like homemade costumes.
Yeah, homemade costumes. You could see a lot of the kids had like not like bags, but like not even those like plastic
like a pillowcase,
but a pillowcase. Yeah, they had pillowcases. Like they probably just anything that costs money, they probably never did.
Yeah, the kids, the adults got more dressed up than the kids. The kids didn't look very dressed up to me. The teens weren't trick or treating, but the little kids who were trick or treating were not very dressed up.
Yeah.
They might have had some face paint on and like
I also think that Halloween, and maybe, I don't know, this was 2010, 2011. I don't know. I think Halloween in the age of Instagram has kind of changed a lot.
It's gotten bigger.
Yeah. I feel like when I was growing up, Halloween was a big deal and what are you going to be? But it wasn't like, I feel like now kids and teens and adults, like people are like, and you see people, they're working on these costumes for months and months and months and months and months. It's a whole thing. People are decorating their homes. Like it is just... And
it's become like second only to Christmas.
Yes.
The most money spent on a holiday.
Yes.
Well, I know. Okay, so if this is in 2010, my daughter was 7 in 2010. And by 7 years old, she was like fully into her costume. She knew, she planned it months in advance because you had to order it or else they'd sell out.
Yeah.
And we would get these catalogs that came every year from the Halloween costume place, and she would pick what she wanted, and we'd order it 2 months in advance, and they were expensive. And the Halloween, school was a huge deal. They had this big parade, not just a little party it was a big deal. Then you'd go out that night with all the friends. I mean, Halloween has always been a huge, expensive ordeal for her whole life. So, I mean, this is a new thing. It's not like when we were growing up. But anyway.
Yes. But yeah, this is so funny. We see them, they go through this hay maze, bunnies, and then we see little Truly holding a bunny.
Oh.
And so the big thing is each kid gets to pick out a pumpkin that they get to carve. And again, I asked the question, is anyone paying attention to Savannah?
She has a knife with her.
Well, and last week it was, is anyone paying attention to Truly? But Savannah this week, I mean, we see a scene of her just out in the middle of a field. The girl is like 4.
I know.
Out in the middle of a field, like, hello. And she says, is anyone paying attention to me? Can someone help me?
Yeah, she's trying to pick up her pumpkin.
She's trying to get it together.
Yeah.
So everyone gets to pick up a pumpkin and they wheel them back to the thing. And and that's, was it Dayton who was talking about this? Where he's right. Like, you go to these pumpkin patches and you think all the pumpkins are going to be round and perfectly orange. And they're not. They're all these weird color, they're green and dented and all of those kinds of things. And honestly, pumpkin patches are fun, but like going out and like finding your own in those fields, it gets old real quick.
Yeah.
Just FYI. It's the same thing with Christmas trees. We've done that too. Our father took us out one year just to shut us up, and it's not as fun as you think it is.
Oh, it was awful. Because, you have to cut it down yourself.
Yeah, we had to saw it ourselves.
You got to drag it back to the car, and there's really nobody helping you.
Yeah.
So, that's a novelty that
we did once.
We did one time. Well, we used to go to pumpkin patches regularly, like real pumpkin patches. Yeah. But, I don't know. Those were the days. So, after they're carving, they're starting to get ready, I think, for that night for trick-or-treating. And like I said, the adults are getting all into it. Like, the wives are going to be earth, wind, water and fire.
Yeah.
And then, what was Kody? He was, all I know is he said that he said he was going as Sammy Hagar.
Yes. And then the funniest line ever was when Leon said, who's Sammy Hagar? And everybody our age went, oh, God, we're old.
Well, and then he said he needs red hairspray.
And I'm like, Sammy Hagar?
Yeah, because we know Sammy Hagar has bleach blonde hair. Maybe because they called him the Red Rocker.
Oh.
Do you remember meeting Sammy Hagar in the LA airport?
Yes. Brooke and I met Sammy Hagar in the LA airport many, many, many years ago.
He was very nice.
No, I thought he was very rude.
No, he gave us an autograph.
He autographed us, but he was very like, oh, God, girls, I'm going to sign this thing and the two of you get away from us.
Oh.
I felt like he was just kind of obligatorily doing it.
Well, yeah, but I mean, he could have just not done it at all.
Yeah, I guess so.
I remember because I had that autograph for a long time. I don't know what happened to it, but he actually wrote on the, Sammy Hagar, the Red Rocker, can't drive 55 or something.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Yes, that was it. Yes.
That's going the extra mile.
Oh, okay.
So I cut him some slack.
But yeah, because that song, Can't Drive 55, this was the days of MTV, because they played that video constantly, and he hadn't joined Van Halen.
No.
Like, this was
pre-Van Halen. But when
Leon said, who's Sammy Hagar? I was like, oh, God, am I old? I am so old.
I know. It was like, who is Sammy Hagar?
Yeah.
What a question.
Yes. So then there's Daddy Logan. He's organizing the carving, of course. He's just, he's got to get everyone organized.
Right. I know. He is. It's like, where are the parents?
Well, because Robin's like running out getting stuff, but the parents are like, but Janelle's probably at work, Christine's probably trying to make dinner or something. Yeah. Robin's trying to get stuff for there. I don't know what Mary's doing, but like, yeah, I mean, it's hard. They need him.
Yeah.
To do this stuff.
And, Aspen, is in the background making sure Truly doesn't pick up a knife or something.
Probably. So, so Logan's helping all the kids carve their pumpkins, and, they need, and I remember that too as a kid, like you needed an adult to come around and do the top for you and scoop all the, and then you had to like scoop all the seeds and get that out. And sprinkled through the entire episode is the stuff about the investigation.
Yeah.
So apparently they kind of mentioned something like, oh, the police. And then it comes out that Kody, of all people, dialed 911.
Yeah, why does he have 911 programmed into his phone? Or how do you do that?
Odd. But they then say, well, because of the investigation, they're always on edge and they're watching for police cars. The kids are always, if they see a police car, they're watching. Yeah. And so why are they
telling their kids so much?
So this is the part that I don't understand. Is on the one hand, they keep saying, well, we're really trying to shield our children from everything that's going on. But if but then your kids see a police car on your block, you're saying, and then they're calling you because they're worried. I said, that's not shielding them. Shielding them would be not telling them anything.
Right.
Because all they're doing, it's an investigation. That's it.
Right.
Nothing's happening.
Yeah, we're going to talk at the end of this episode about that investigation. I did a little research into the history of that, and just to talk about whether or not they really had reason to be scared.
Brooke put her lawyer skills to the test. Because I wonder about all this. So.
Yeah.
Yes. And then we see Christine doing Kody's hair. And then they decide that Kody is going to be the sun. And I guess I don't understand the elements as well. So for air, water, fire, earth, they need the sun? I'm so lost. I'm really bad at this. This is not my area of expertise in life. I'll be really honest with you.
The elements?
Yes, the elements. I hate
science.
Yeah, I hate science. I've never done well in it at all.
Well, I think it's not that complicated. But wait, Earth, well, they said wind. I think it's air. Earth, air, water, fire. Those are the 4 elements. The sun is not an element.
Yes, I understand that. Okay.
The sun is, it's a big star, isn't it? Like,
yes,
a big hot.
Yeah, it's a big hot star.
And yeah.
But fire, you don't need the sun for fire.
No, what Kody said is wrong.
Okay.
It's completely wrong.
That's why I was so confused. I'm like,
he's saying that you can't have any of the elements without the sun. And it's like, okay, Kody.
Yeah, and the air doesn't need the sun.
No, none of these elements need anything. Although, if we didn't have the sun, the earth would probably just, freeze over and go away. But this is just Kody trying to be self-important and
okay. I was just very
Christine
confused.
rolled her eyes. She did a heavy eye roll when he said that.
I was just like, oh, I'm so lost by all of these things. Yes. And then there was one thing where she was saying that he wanted to be man because man controlled all of these things.
Oh, God.
Something.
This is just Kody just spouting off. He's crazy.
So everybody's painting their faces. And then Kody had the craziest hair. Mm-hmm. What it turned out to be was just nutty.
He looked like that guy Heat Miser from the Christmas show.
Well, and also it's funny because I saw that Gwen had her hair like this too, but her hair was all curly at the end. I think that this is Christine's method of curling people's hair is to do those little tiny knots.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's a thing? Okay. I didn't know that's how you can curl someone's hair like that.
Yeah.
Good to know. Okay.
So, they set up a little trick-or-treating station at their house, and I guess the kids went around.
Kody stayed at home.
And then all the kids came back, and of course, they do that thing where they count all their candy.
Yeah.
And this was funny. Like, they're counting their candy. They're totally hyped up. And then in the middle of all this chaos, Kody says, okay, it's time for bed. And it's
I think he was joking, though.
Was he?
Yeah, I think it was a joke.
Okay, I couldn't tell.
But yeah, I was like, I got very nostalgic. Just like, that when you come back from trick-or-treating and putting on your candy and trading candy that you like for getting more of the stuff you like, getting rid of the crap you don't like, and, scouting out what people have. And I
have to say, I do. Yeah, I'm nostalgic for, like, Halloween was always a really fun time growing up because there was just always so much activity, and we kind of had this yearly tradition of going trick-or-treating with the same people and friends from her school. And it was fun. It was fun. And around here where we live, there's so much Halloween stuff everywhere. We go to Fairyland and do the Halloween thing. We'd go to all this stuff. So now I miss it. At the time, I'm sure I thought it was a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
But
my son, he trick-or-treated until he was about like 6 or 7. And then somewhere after that, he realized it's a lot of work going house to house. Like, I'll just have you guys buy me candy. And then, because he realized, it would be a lot easier if you just bought me candy. He kind of sort of saw how it's a lot of work for nothing and for the candy that he could just get. And I was like, Okay. And where we live, no one ever came to our door. So it's weird. And it's interesting because I know people that are obsessed with Halloween. So they have so much Halloween stuff and they always throw a Halloween party. And, if you're not someone who gets into something, it's really hard to start because you think like, oh, I could get those fun Halloween glasses or fun. But it's like, why?
Yeah, I was forced into doing heavy Halloween stuff by my daughter. I wouldn't have done it otherwise, but she was always a holiday fanatic.
Yes. Yes, she is.
She kind of still is. Not as bad, but oh yeah, I have so much Halloween stuff in my basement. So I could have a full-blown Halloween party if I wanted to.
You could.
Maybe I will.
All right. So do you want to talk about this stuff or do you want to talk about it after the next episode?
We'll do it at the end, I guess. So,
all right. So that was the end of that. These little 20-minute episodes just go by super quick. Okay. So this next one is Wife 3 hits Sin City. So Kody is taking Christine away with their kids to Vegas because Christine, oddly enough, loves Vegas, which kind of surprises me. It's about 6 hours away. And then Mary says she's super excited because she has a weekend of freedom. And I was perplexed by that. I'm like, isn't most of your weekends weekends of freedom? Like you have one child that's pretty much is a teenager. So what
and Cody's not there every day. So
yeah. So what freedom are you talking about?
I don't know. She's just trying to
but that was so weird. Like, oh, I'm going to play around or do this or that. And I have all this freedom. And she wouldn't even take his dry cleaning in for him. It's like,
she's just trying to make herself seem fun.
You think?
I wonder do you think this trip to Vegas with Christine, do you think this was sort of Kody like laying the groundwork for trying to, I think he's already thinking about moving to Vegas. And maybe he thinks that Christine is going to be difficult to convince. And she was difficult to convince. Like,
but she just said, even though she says she talking about loves Vegas,
she says she loves it, but doesn't mean she wants to live there.
Maybe. I think it could have been. I mean, I think it was. I think the trip was. Yeah, I think it was that. I think it was. Yeah, it could have been. I think it was also right, and they talk about this in the episode. It was also, his way of sort of smoothing things over with her
because of the whole Robin thing.
The Robin thing, right? Because she does talk about what it's like for her, right? That she
said it shocked her that Kody felt like he had to get married again.
Yeah, that she because she had never dealt with this before. That she was shocked that it was hard for her to, see Kody courting another woman, a wife, and having to deal with these feelings that she felt. And then she says, I thought this was interesting. She says, you have to go through a mourning process. And when she said that, Kody seemed genuinely surprised that she said that. Right. Almost kind of like, and then Kody says this. He says, well, so Christine's talking about how, about the marriage and Robin and her coming in and how hard it was for her and this mourning process. And then Kody says, and, he's like, yeah. And, we want to move ourselves. We really need to move ourselves away from all of this drama around the investigation.
Yeah, he's priming her.
Well, but also, I also kind of felt like, God, you really don't listen, do you? Because for Christine, this trip was about the two of them and connecting.
Not the investigation.
And it wasn't about the investigation. And it was like, that's interesting that you got that. I kind of felt like he was really, really milking this investigation thing of really trying to, like, for him, it was less about wanting to connect with Christine and more about, like, we need to get away from this investigation talk or something like that. But you're right. Now that you say it, I didn't think about it that way, but you're right. It's almost like this, priming the viewers, priming her, priming all of us that this investigation is really huge and a big deal.
Yeah,
deal.
he's thinking a lot about it. Yeah, and also it also strikes me too that, you know, I feel like this happens throughout the entire series of the wives vacillating back and forth between, oh, we love Robin, she's great, this is wonderful, and you know, this is really difficult and very hard, and I mean they'll do it in the same breath almost.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah. And then I love this one. Janelle says that when Christine leaves, my whole world falls apart.
Yes.
I'm like, what? Savannah needs her hair combed before she goes to school. And she was dead serious.
Yes.
Like, she's not even trying to be funny.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yes. No, well, Janelle says, like, Christine needs the trip because of the wedding, because of the baby. And then Robin has this really, really profound statement. She says, she heard that when you're older, it's harder to have babies. And then they cut her off. So my guess is what she really meant to say was that it's maybe harder for you. Maybe there's higher chances of postpartum. Maybe it's harder for you physically. Maybe it's harder for you mentally. Maybe, like, I think that's what she meant, but it was just the way it was. It was just like, you know, women, when you get older, it's harder to have kids. You know, just the way she said it was just
like, what a revelation.
Wow. Thank you, Robin. That's just woof, you know? And then, so we see in the background while these guys are off on their trip that Mary, Robin, and Janelle, they go to a bakery. And okay, so is this where I honestly started cracking up when this happened. I mean, I laughed out loud.
LOL.
I LOL. Robin says, I can't imagine having a husband around all the time. And I'm like, you were married for 7 years to one person. He was around all the time, Robin. That's the only kind of marriage you know.
I know.
This is a new kind of marriage.
I know.
This is a new kind of... I'm like, what are you doing?
She's
You've
always...
You've been in a monogamous
This is your first polygamous relationship.
This is new to you.
You've been a polygamist for not even
5
a year.
months. 5 months you've been a polygamous.
Well, no, remember they had that 10-month long courtship. But they've only been married. That's true. They've been married a couple months.
She has been a polygamist for 5 months.
You're right.
She has been a polygamist for 5 effing months. I was just like, when she said that, I can't imagine having my husband around all the time. I'm like, well, what was that before?
You did it for 7 years with that other guy. No, she's unbelievable. God.
Oh my God.
She says this stuff with a straight face.
I know. But I don't understand. Like, a producer doesn't stop and say, hold on a second. You know, weren't you married to someone? And it was just the two of you? Because she has said in season 1, I was in a marriage.
Right.
You know, we never took on another. I mean, like, no one stops and says, hey, Robin, let's go back here for a second. I mean, but I really, truly think that that's what she thinks and feels in that moment in time.
Yeah.
And so that's why when everyone thinks she's so diabolical, I'm like, she's just dumb. She's not smart enough. And I don't know if it's that that the women, maybe women aren't, or people just aren't well educated enough in these kinds of communities, because I just don't think they educate their children enough. I just don't think she's educated enough. I don't think they allow people to be critical thinkers, you know, the way they do.
Well, and Robin just so desperately wants to try to fit in with this family, so she tries to act like she already, you know, fits in and is part of it. But I don't know if one of the things, though, that, again, sort of priming, you know, this Las Vegas move, Kody says that something about how Vegas has a huge Christian population.
Yes, it has a huge Christian. It is Sin City, but it has a huge Christian population.
So it would, that means it would be acceptable for them to live there?
Yeah, I guess now that you said, I'm seeing this now, that he really was laying the groundwork, but they're not going to downtown Las Vegas. No. They are going half an hour away from downtown to Lake Las Vegas.
Lake Las Vegas.
Which is in Henderson, which I've heard of Henderson before.
Never been there, but
there are a bunch of casinos. Steve and I used to watch this really weird reality show about a casino hotel. This was back when poker was huge, back in like 20 years ago. about a weird hotel in Henderson, Nevada, and about like the high rollers that were there. But there is like a whole kind of world out there.
Yeah,
with
more serious gamblers.
And there's lots of things like what they went to. They found this hotel that they were like, oh my God, they pulled up. It was so fancy. They didn't feel like they were fancying it. And they were so excited they got a villa. And I had to say that looked nice. That really looked like a nice hotel. I have to say, and I wonder how much they paid or if the producers paid.
Oh yeah, I'm sure TLC paid. It seemed like it was out in the middle of nowhere. It seemed like it was winter and cold and there was nobody there.
Yeah.
There was nobody there. It's very off season.
Yes. And that's why they got such a good deal on it. But it did look like a 3-bedroom villa. I wonder how much a 3-bedroom villa.
I bet it was $200 a night. Maybe.
Really?
I mean, Tess, do you remember when we used to go to Vegas and we'd stay at,
Yeah, but you know what?
These places,
but the thing
they're
is
so cheap.
If you go on it used to be so cheap to go like on a Monday night or something.
Sunday through Thursday.
Yeah, Sunday through Thursday are really cheap. But it's not, I swear to God,
it's not like that anymore. No, I know.
It's not. You used to be able to go to one of the prime hotels on the Strip on a Sunday night and
$20 a person.
Yeah, it was so cheap. And honestly, when we go to Vegas, that is the time that we like to go. We like to go on a Monday to a Wednesday. Like avoid all of the riffraff, avoid everybody. And it's so nice and calm and mellow and, you don't have to deal with a lot of annoying people, but you get the best of everything else. But anyway, it's not like that anymore.
No.
Everything's expensive. The Bellagio is still, it's still $500-$600 a night. If you're lucky, it's still expensive.
But what about like some of those lower end ones, like, I don't know, like the Luxor or the Excalibur? Well, back in the day when those were new, they were cheap.
Yeah.
But like there was a place called the Imperial Palace.
Oh, yes.
On the Strip.
Steve stayed there a bunch of times with friends and it's super cheap.
It's super cheap. It's literally like, I'm not even joking, I think $10 a person, like $20 for a room for 2 people. But I think it got closed down because the owner was like a Nazi, had all this Nazi memorabilia. Like he was fined by the Gaming Commission of Nevada because he had all this Nazi memorabilia in the lobby of the hotel.
Wow. Steve's Jewish. I have to ask him about that if he noticed that.
Honestly, I never would have noticed it if someone hadn't pointed it out. Like you go into those places and you're so chaotic. You're not really noticing what's on the walls and whatever.
It's hard to like ding, 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 ding.
But yeah, Las Vegas is ruined now because, it's just too expensive to go there and it's too fancy. I like the sleazy, the sleazy days of Las Vegas.
Well, anyway, so they decide the first thing that they're going to do is they're going to walk the grounds. Yeah, because they kept talking about like having a coat for Truly. And so, yeah, it must have been
winter.
Cold. It was winter. So they decided to walk around the grounds and so this was the funniest thing. It was like, so they're walking around, they're in Vegas, they're going to explore, they're as a family, and then they find Lake Las Vegas, which I guess is close to the hotel. And so they decide to skip stones. I was just thinking, if our father took us on this vacation, do you think this is what we would be doing?
I didn't see them do anything other than that little boat ride that they took.
No, they went to Madame Tussauds, and we're going to talk about that in a second.
Right. Okay, how did I blank that out? Well, that's on the Strip. Isn't that on the Strip?
Yeah, but I just think that it is so you go, I don't know. It's just like you go on a family vacation. Okay, you find this villa. Great. It's nice. Your kids are there. You've got kids of all ages, and you decide to go to this lake and the lake is right behind your hotel.
The lake was right next to the hotel.
I guess so. And you spend how long? Hours skipping stones. And the rest of the day must have been so boring because this was the only footage you're showing us. I don't know. I just think that it's so weird. I just think that if this was our family, our father would be at the bar already. Like, I just don't think that this is what we would do.
Oh, when we went to Las Vegas with our dad, we'd be like, we would go, you were the big gambler. You would be doing slot machines. You were like not even 18.
Yeah.
And you just do it till someone comes up and says, hey, how old are you?
Yes.
And then you just kind of move along,
and then I moved to another one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess we were, again, Gen Xers, we really weren't supervised.
No. Like yeah. And then,
we went to, we went to shows. We went to a bunch of shows and we went to dinner.
Yeah.
And we did walk around, but we didn't do any, like, skipping stones. Our father never taught us that.
No.
Our father's not a country boy.
No, it was like we like to drink.
Yeah.
We like to
gamble.
Go to a comedy show.
Went to comedy shows.
We saw, what was it, like Dana Carvey and
Richard Lewis.
Yeah.
And who was the third?
Kevin Nealon, maybe?
No. Dennis Miller.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And we saw Richard Lewis and his very bizarre girlfriend.
In the gift shop.
Yes. And Dad saw Dana Carvey and called him a pipsqueak.
I didn't remember that.
Yeah, he's like, oh, he's tiny. And I'm like, Dad.
Yeah, anyway. See, we had a very different experience.
This is our childhood. This is what we're talking about here.
Very different experience than the Browns.
Yes. We were not raised by country. We were raised by someone who like went to a country club every weekend, Yeah.
I
mean,
it's like the
very waspy.
Mad Men 2.0.
So then we see Robin, Janelle and Mary, they're just trying to live it up. So they took all the kids bowling. And, Mary, of course, is the best bowler, and Robin's cheating. And then we go back to, this is where they go to Madame Tussauds. So this is their big outing. And what I love
that is on the Strip.
Yeah. So what I love is that, of course, Christine's like, the kids loved it. Everything that they talked about, Christine was saying the kids loved it. The kids loved it.
She's just so happy to be out of the house. Oh, God.
She's happy to be out of that basement.
Yeah.
She's happy to be alone with Cody.
Yeah. Even though they have 6 kids with them.
Yeah. She's just thrilled.
Yes. She doesn't care. Because he can't go anywhere.
Yes.
He can't leave her.
Yeah. She is thrilled. They're at Madame Tussauds. The kids loved it. And we see Brad and Angelina, and then we see they talk about Elvis. Okay, and this was the weirdest thing. So then we see Gwen. So apparently at Madame Tussauds, you can put on a wedding dress and pose and quote unquote marry a wax George Clooney. And the two of them are saying, oh my God, I don't know. It's so creepy. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't think they think it's creepy for the same reasons we all think it's creepy. Because they kept talking about how creepy it was. And I'm like, do you think it's creepy because Gwen is wearing a dress to marry an adult man? And pretending to be a bride in this scenario?
Yeah, what is creepy about it?
Well, I don't know. Should we be letting children dress up as brides to marry grown adult men?
I don't know. I mean, obviously it's something they have set up there.
Yeah, but I just kind of feel like, don't you think it's kind of weird and inappropriate to do that?
I don't know. I would have done the same thing as a kid if I saw a John Travolta, wax figure.
Okay. Maybe I was just kind of weirded out by this is kind of weird.
Look, who are these people to be calling anyone weird?
I know. And I mean, obviously this was many, many years ago. And things have changed. I don't think they still have that up. I bet you anything it's not probably something you can do. It's still a little gross too, because anyone can put on this, they just have a dress available and you can throw on the dress. And so Gwen threw on this dress over her clothes and took this picture. But it's just a little odd to think here's a male and then Gwen's 9? And she's marrying this guy, and just how they're weird and they're polygamists. And there's all of this
what you're saying.
These levels of we're all, and they're constantly telling us that they're not like Warren Jeffs.
But I mean, I think you're reading too much into it. If you were Gwen's age and that was you and you could marry Elvis or somebody, don't you think you'd be into it?
I guess so. I would, but again, I don't think that. I don't know. I think, yes, I would have done it. And I think looking back, I would think, oh, that was weird. Why did we let people do that?
I don't know.
Anyway.
It's Vegas.
Whatever. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Oh, well, what I loved is the the hotel room breakfast.
Oh God, yes.
You know, to save money, they got to eat in their hotel room. But Christine doesn't use a microwave,
so she can't
believe in it.
Yes, so she can't give them quote unquote a hearty breakfast. But I thought there's a lot of food on this table.
Yeah,
there's a lot of breakfast here. I didn't think it was that bad.
It was a continental breakfast. But,
yeah.
Then Kody calls Mary, because I guess she had applied. She got fired from her job because of this investigation.
Yes. Okay. So can we go back for a second? Because so one thing that they've sort of, and this I thought was odd. So they kept shoehorning. So this whole episode is about Christine and this vacation, right? They keep shoehorning things about maybe criticisms that they received about bringing all these children into the world and bringing children into polygamy, and criticisms that I can only speak for myself, I've made about the fact that, you know, Mary starts talking about that they've brought children into the world, that children don't have a choice, that they've brought children into polygamy. And, you know, Janelle talks about it too, like people that they've raised their children based on their beliefs, based on their values. This is what people do all the time. Like, you know, you're Jewish, you're Christian, you're this, you're that. You raise your children based on your beliefs, and that's what they're doing as well. And they're not forcing their children into their lifestyle. They're showing them these values, and should we be criticizing? And they kept sort of bringing this up, and I was like, why are you shoehorning all of this in here? Didn't you think that was weird? Like, because it really had nothing to do with it had nothing to do with the investigation. It had nothing to do with Christine going, you know, on this trip.
They were probably responding to criticism that they got after the first season, because we're in season 2 now.
Yes.
So after the world has introduced these people, I'm sure they got a ton of feedback, like, how can you do this to your kids and blah, blah, blah. And you know what? Look, they're not Warren Jeffs. They're not like doing those crazy things to their kids, but they are still, their kids don't have a choice in this matter. They are still subjecting their kids to this lifestyle where they have to, you know, they're going to get far less attention and resources because they're one of 20 instead of one of 2 or one of 3 or 4 or even 5. You know, the poverty. You know, the lack of money, the lack of resources, the chaos. You know, they're being forced to like accept these other women as their mothers, whether they like them or not. And we all know now that, you know, a lot of people didn't like Mary or Robin. So I think that's what they're responding to. And I don't buy into this stuff that like, oh, they teach their kids to be. Yeah, they talked about how they teach their kids to be tolerant and, you know, respect people's freedom or whatever. It's like, well, okay, but you're forcing them to live in a way that's not really conducive to, you know, getting their needs met.
Okay. I just wondering why I understand it was like, yeah, they're responding to the criticism. Why shoehorn it in here? They felt like, okay, we have to start responding to these things. So we're just going to sprinkle it into various episodes as opposed to doing like one of those question and answer ones that they do later on. And then into this, and then, and it made me think like, maybe I am being a little too harsh. Maybe I do need to like, let it, you know, yeah, this is their beliefs and this is what they believe in. And, you know, who am I to say that this isn't how they should be living their lives? But you're right that it is, if you can't pay for all of these children, if you can't provide for them or provide for their wants and needs, then, you know, maybe that is a problem. And then they go into the whole thing about Kody, like, well, Kody doesn't play golf. Cody doesn't have hobbies. And obviously, like,
well, he can't afford it.
Yeah. But also Kody doesn't really have friends. Kody doesn't do this. Kody doesn't do that. But the thing is that we are now seeing, which makes the show so interesting and why we talk about it all the goddamn time, is the fact that we're seeing now that these kids are coming out and saying, yeah, my father didn't play golf or anything, but he wasn't around for me.
He didn't spend time with me.
He didn't spend time with me.
And none of them are practicing polygamy.
Yeah.
So,
anywho, sorry, you can go back to the Mary thing. Oh, okay. But I just thought it was interesting.
Yeah, no, I think they're trying to respond to the criticism, like, subtly, not, you know, not all at once. But yeah, so Mary, she applied for a job and she didn't get it. And so she's talking to Kody about that, and she's, disappointed about it. And that was about it. She's complaining about how she's being persecuted for just having sister wives. And it's like, well, maybe they didn't hire you because they didn't like you. Or, could have been a lot of other reasons. Didn't have anything, doesn't necessarily mean because you have sister wives, you didn't get the job.
Yeah. Well, then I guess, and then she gets into the story of how she was at a job. And I guess this was the job where she worked with at-risk youth. And she loved her job, and I guess they pulled her aside when she went public, and they said, "You're terminated. Peace out," and let her go.
Yeah,
and that was it.
She had to have known that was a possibility.
Yeah.
I don't know. Mary's just always. I feel like she's always playing a victim. She annoys me. So then after this,
then they go on the boat ride.
And then Kody and Christine have a very romantic
just the two of them
dinner. And then Kody says that, his marriage with Christine has just been wonderful. He says only 3 out of 17 years were a struggle.
No, didn't she say that?
Oh, was that her?
No, that was her.
I wrote down Kody says.
See, I thought she said that they've been married 17 years, that 3 have been a struggle, and that definitely Christine said, and this last year has been a struggle.
Yeah. Well, I wrote down that Kody said that because I thought it was remarkable because of what we know now, that he's saying that, his entire marriage to Christine has been a struggle, and Christine was just not nice to anyone, and all those lies.
Yeah. Well, yeah. No matter who said it, Christine was very clear on the fact that this last year has been
a
huge struggle.
Get that on the record. Yeah.
So, and what I think is interesting is if this last year has been a struggle, I would love to know listen, you can't trust Kody because he's, he has no idea. He changes the stories based on how he feels. But I would love to hear from Christine if it ever got better. If Robin entered the family and it remained a struggle, or if there were years of Vegas, it was good for 4 or 5 years, and then Flagstaff, and then things really started.
Yeah.
I'm just curious if the presence of Robin really was the thing, the camel that broke, the straw that broke the camel's back, or if there was an upside. I don't know.
Yeah, from what I recall, the stuff she said in the past season, it seemed to me like it was kind of always like that. Definitely. Yeah, and then Kody ends off the episode by saying he thinks that they've changed all of society on some level by going public. It's like, okay, Kody.
All right.
All of society.
Thank you, Kody, for being you.
Yes. Changing the world.
Yes.
Okay, so we've been talking about, whether
this investigation. And how is it as serious as they make it out to be?
Yes. Okay. So this is, mostly from Wikipedia, but that says that months before the show aired, producers went to the Utah Attorney General, and the Attorney General basically said that they didn't have the resources to go after polygamists unless they're suspected of other serious crimes like child abuse or
because that's really what brought Warren Jeffs down. Oh, yeah. Right? What was the child abuse was the marriages, which is child endangerment, the rape, right? Child rape, all of the things that are connected to that.
Exactly. And that before the show aired, it had been 9 years since anyone in Utah had even been prosecuted for polygamy. So then, of course, they have this televised wedding in the first season, which is a little suspicious because they say it's not a real wedding, but, they don't know. So it says the day after the show aired on September 27th, 2010, police in Lehi announced that they were investigating the Browns for possible charges of bigamy, which carries a term of 20 years in prison for the husband and 5 years for the wives. So bigamy, I guess, has a slightly different definition in Utah, but bigamy is being married to where you try to be legally married to more than one woman. So you get a marriage license and you go and you marry someone, and now that marriage would be legal. And then you get a marriage license somewhere else and you go through that with a second person, and that marriage is not going to be legal, but you're attempting to marry legally two people at the same time. That's bigamy. And that seems like, I don't know, it's kind of a big sentence for that. But anyway, I'll get to this in a minute, but the state of Utah defines it a little bit different. So the police did their investigation, whatever that was, and then turned it over to the Utah County Attorney's Office to review it. And even though Kody was legally married to Mary, the state code in Utah identifies bigamy through cohabitation and not just legal marriage.
Ah, okay.
So they were
okay.
somewhat in jeopardy technically. Okay, so this would be, what year are we at now? So this is probably like late 2010, early 2011. Yeah, because I have here the Browns moved in January 2011. And so there was a hypothetical threat to them, but, because they were never charged with anything.
Yeah.
Because there were no other serious crimes attached to it. But they felt like they had to leave. And that's a pretty short time period. The show airs end of September. They move January. So the Browns, I don't think they were paying this person. It said hired, but I think he was doing it pro bono.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
The show aired in September?
Yeah.
But when did Robin and Kody get married? Do we know?
Well, it was
because they kept saying 5 months since the wedding, and this is,
so that would have been like April of 2010.
Well, wait a minute. So 5 months from the wedding, but that was the Halloween episode. But we don't know if that interview was connected to the time of the Halloween. Because it would have been in May, right? Was the wedding in May?
It must have been, like in the spring of 2010.
The spring of 2010, and then they air it in the fall. Okay,
right.
They air it in the fall, and they're still then they start doing the second season. Okay,
right,
got it.
So, okay, so they got this George Washington University constitutional law scholar to represent them in the case. And so what they did, the Browns did, even though there was no, they weren't charged because of this lack of any evidence of serious wrongdoing, the Browns filed a complaint in U.S. District Court in Utah. So it was basically a federal civil rights case. And meanwhile, so that's working its way through the system. And then in June 1st, 2012, the police announced that they were not going to charge them. So
when in 2012? Sorry.
June 1st, 2012.
Okay.
So they moved before there was this official announcement. And so then the attorney, the Utah district attorney tried to get this civil rights case dismissed, basically saying, look, we've announced we're not going to file charges, so it's a moot point, and the judge disagreed. He refused to dismiss, because he said, well, there's an actual civil rights issue here about whether or not this cohabitation law is constitutional. And so that judge actually ended up striking down the cohabitation law. Then it got appealed to the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals, and they overturned that, and they said that it should have been dismissed on grounds of standing. And because the policy of the Utah County Attorney's Office was to only prosecute cases involving child bigamy, marrying the children, welfare fraud, abuse, or violence. So because none of that existed, it eliminated any credible threat that the Browns would be prosecuted. So they ended up ultimately losing on that issue. But then it actually came back around in 2020. The state of Utah passed a bill reducing bigamy from a felony to a minor infraction. So kind of cut the legs off of it.
Yeah.
So that's when, remember on the show, they were saying, oh, well, it's been decriminalized in Utah, so now we can go back. And then Kody didn't know what to do.
Yeah. So essentially, they really didn't have to leave.
No. And also, but I said this before, I really think that the real reason he relocated the family was in order to continue the filming. Because I think that the Utah investigation probably would have ended if the Browns would have just, stopped being on that TV show. But he wanted the TV show to keep going. He didn't want to risk any charges being filed in Utah. So I think he made a calculated risk decision to just leave so he could continue with the show. And I'm sure that TLC was probably like, I don't know if we want to continue filming in Utah with this. We've got this cloud over the show.
Yeah.
So,
and they can't really talk about it. So, and of course, I think it's kind of a perfect scenario, right? Where they can use this as, we're fleeing Utah, we've been persecuted, we're victims, let's run. And this makes us look good.
Sympathetic
to people. And we can stay on the show, when in actuality, it was about, deep down, they could have just lived in Lehigh. And maybe that's what's coming out now. Maybe there's a lot of resentment from some of the, maybe some of the kids.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe Christine, some of the people that really didn't want to go, who didn't feel like they should have to go, or who maybe the TV show was all new and they didn't feel like they cared that much about it. I mean, I wonder about some of the teenagers that were really affected by having to go, Hunter or
Maddie.
Yeah, the ones that weren't happy about it at all. If they now, how they would feel about it, knowing that really it was to keep the show going. But at the same time, like someone like Maddie, they're a little bit like, God, you're platinum level Plexus. You're making tons of money from that. You're making tons of money because you're a known person from the show. So I don't know,
Yeah, I think it's just, Kody's just so cavalier about, he doesn't think about how what he does affects his family, and especially with the moving and
but we've talked about, and you told that story about Kody's nephew or cousin, that guy Ben.
Yeah, Ben, nephew, I think.
Yeah. So I don't think, and I think this is like how some families operate. Some families don't think about how things are affecting kids. The parents are the parents, and this is how it is. And I think Kody grew up in an environment with family where it's the parents, the ban.
It's their way or the highway.
It's their way or the highway. Kids don't have a say.
Yeah.
And that's just how it is. And you just follow along, and that's how it is. And I think that probably for him, that's how he grew up. So that's how he's going to raise his kids.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so. Well, and see how that worked out.
Yeah. But I mean, the fact that the kids have never made dime one, I'm very surprised about that. I assume that they had to have at least made scale at something. But again, these reality shows aren't, they're not they're not.
They don't have to follow those rules.
They don't have to follow those rules. So
the wives didn't even get their own money till this upcoming season. For the first time, they're going to get their own paychecks. It just all went to Kody.
Yeah,
and he did with it whatever he wanted to.
Yeah,
but for next week's episode, I'm going to try to do some investigating into. I've been seeing a lot of stuff online about how Robin and Kody are in some financial straits.
Okay.
So I'll try to look into that and report back next week.
All right. Get on the case there, Brooke.
I will.
All right. Well, thank you so much for listening. If you like this podcast and enjoy it and have not already, please give us a 5-star review on Apple and write a few kind words. We really do appreciate it. It helps us out tremendously. And if you like this podcast, please subscribe, be a subscriber. So that way you don't have to remember, did I download Psych Legal Pop this week? You just shows up right there for you. We are also on social media. We finally got it together and did it. So we are Psych Legal Pop on Instagram, and we're Psych Legal Pop on TikTok. And we are posting, obviously, announcements about the shows, but we're also going to post, old photos of ourselves and articles and other musings and thoughts and things.
Memes.
You keep talking about memes. I don't know what memes you think are going to...
I don't know. There's Sister Wives memes.
Okay.
There's memes about everything.
So there'll be memes.
Or just a meme that we think is funny.
Okay. Well, if there's a meme...
Like-minded people might enjoy.
Right. If there is a meme, Brooks posted it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. All right. And then we will see you. This Thursday, we are covering Love is Blind, episodes 6, 7, and 8. Mm-hmm. Those were super juicy. Excited for that. And we're also covering the last 3 episodes of Extreme Sisters, episodes 8, 9, and 10. So that should be coming out this week as well. But we will see you next time. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye.
The Bleacher Report app is your destination for sports. Right now, the NBA's heating up, March Madness is here, and MLB is almost back. Every day there's a new headline, a new highlight, a new moment you've got to see for yourself. That's why I stay locked in with the Bleacher Report app. For me, it's about staying connected to my sports. I can follow the teams I care about, get real-time scores, breaking news, and highlights all in one place. Download the Bleacher Report app today so you never miss a moment.